All right, you tropical fish enthusiasts. What you're looking at is one of my latest scientific experiments. Now, you may notice, boy, his tank's got a lot of algae. Well, I went with the sand substrate, using the homemade fertilizer tablets, Ostacal or whatever it is, inside of the little tiny vitamin capsules, and you put them down with a stick. Well, anyway, that's what's fertilizing this tank. Now, I have Sagittarius plants. I bought like 2 or 3. I now have 15, so they're multiplying. The Amazon swords, the leaves are coming off it. New leaves are coming on. That's normal. But I got hit with a lot of algae, and I have my lights adjusted. Originally, I was running 10 hours a day. I cranked it back to 8, and I'm still getting an algae problem. Now, I've gone through this before, and it's a lot of work. So, in the past, I bought Bladder Snails. I'm going to forget the name of the stupid shrimp. The other shrimp, the real expensive ones. Anyway, I tried the shrimp. I tried the large snails, different chemicals. And then finally I said, let me look what other people are using. So anytime I used to find a snail, like a bladder snail or any kind of snail in the fish tank, I'd pluck it out. I made sure I didn't have snails. And my father had a friend that had this 50-gallon tank in the cellar. He had a bunch of lights above it, and he had the Sagittarius plants. He had Hygrophila polysperma. He had water sprite as floating plants, and he had no algae problems. And he didn't know why. He said possibly it was the water he had. And I started thinking about, but his tank was overrun with snails, bladder snails. So I said to somebody, I said, you got a lot of snails. And he just lifts the lid up and he starts crushing them against the glass. He says, that's what I feed the fish on. He says, I don't feed the fish food. He says, I break up some snails a couple times a week. And I'm like, so that, you have these memories in your head. So I'm noticing that when I buy plants, they always have bladder snails on them, and they don't have algae on them. So I'm starting to think, okay, maybe I've been making a mistake. So I go reading up on different snails. And I had put the trumpet snails in there once before. The whole tank was overrun with trumpet snails. Trumpet snails burrow into the substrate. They tell you that's a good thing, but they also poop in the substrate. I want this substrate to be sealed. All I want in my substrate are roots and fertilizer. That's what I want. Now, the last video I did, I had to throw it away. I kept saying trumpet snails instead of bladder snails. I'm getting there. I'm going the Biden method. Yeah, I'm going like Biden. When you get older, it's horrible. In my mind, I'm saying bladder snails. But then I review the video, and I'm saying trumpet snails. I'm like, give me a freaking break. But anyway, I cleaned the front glass so you can look. You're looking in through the front. And if you notice in the back, make sure it's still focused. There's little black patches on the back window. That's what the snails haven't removed yet. In 3 days, they've cleaned really thick algae off the back glass. They've also gotten rid of all the algae that was on that would be a sword plant, Thailand. No, you got the Amazon sword plants, and there's 2 of those, and they cleaned those up, and they got most of the Sagittarius cleaned up. But in my mind, I took a snapshot of the tank, and then I waited 3 days. And you can actually watch them. They go up on the leaf of the plant, and they go up and down, and they clean the frickin' plant. And they don't eat the plant, they clean it. And right now, there's one over here on a Sagittarius. I don't know if it's in the frame. He's coming down. They did that. The trumpet snails I had did not go on the plants. So I was doomed right from the beginning. And they say, well, the neorites, the people are neorites, they're big. They go up and down the glass, and they clean the glass. They don't go on the plants. They don't go on the gravel. And then they start laying eggs everywhere. And then I had those, I can't think of the neorite snails and Almo something shrimps. and they didn't do dick. Okay, so now this time I went and bought 40 bladder snails from eBay. I put only 30 in. I picked the best 30 and put them in there. And I think that guppy's having babies, and I think they're eating them. Son of a gun. That's a cruel world. Well, anyway, I just want to tell you, the bladder snails actually do eat algae. And I tried to find a technical amount that they, like somewhere someone would have something like they eat 1 square inch of algae in 2 days or something like that. And then you could figure out the square inches of your tank. This is a 20 long. And then you could figure out how many you need to keep in there. So what you have to do is every so many days or weeks, you got to get a big pair of tweezers and you got to take some of the snails out as they start to multiply. But it's less work doing that than it is trying to clean the algae off the tank. It really is. Because these little suckers get in every nook and cranny. I've been watching what they're doing, and they're doing a good job. But they're not touching the algae that's on the sand. Now, the algae that's on the sand, when I grab it with the tweezers, it comes up like sod. So that might be one way to handle that. But when you deal with fish tanks, you're going to get algae. And these guys that have these videos up there, they're keeping that. They're really working on that tank every day and putting a lot of hours in to keep it cleaned up. I don't want that. I want something real simple, like my friend of my father's. He had all the plants growing. He gave me plants. He gave me guppies. And like I said, I'm looking at the tank. I'm, boy, you have a lot of snails. And he just opens the lid and starts crushing them. He says, that's the food. That's what I feed them. Now, I went fishing with him, and he could turn a rock over. He'd walk out into the stream, turn a rock over, and come up with a crayfish, put it on the hook, and start fishing. And he taught me how to do that. And my father was more of a worm guy. But in other words, he was into fish. That's why he had them. And he did a lot of fishing. One of his favorite spots was Waywanda. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you, the bladder snails, they're pretty good. Hopefully I'm not saying trumpet snails. Trumpet snails are terrible. They don't climb the plants. They burrow in and out of the gravel, and they poop in the gravel. You don't want that, because then after a year and a half, the gravel has poop down in it. And yeah, the plants do take the nutrients out of the poop, but the poop's still down in there, and that starts to affect the pH of the water. And a lot of tanks, you'll notice, they start to crash at a year and a half. This is what I'm trying to figure out, how I can work around the crash. And lately I've been feeding the fish less food, and at less time of the light being on, but I'm still getting algae problems. And I think it has to do with my water that comes out of my tap. It's got too many minerals or nutrients in it, and it's causing me problems. But I need help with the algae, and these I almost said trumpet snails. These bladder snails in 3 days have done a lot. But I'll be curious to see if they eat some of the black algae. I have some black algae on the glasses, on the side, the left side there. There's some black algae, and what will they touch? What will I have to clean? And how will this go? Now, I know they're saying that, they overrun the tank. So once a week, you're going to have to pick some of them out. That's part of the maintenance of the tank. I think that's it. All right, that's it.